Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Listener, you really threw us for a loop with this one. Instead of, diving into the whole escape from Senti Merries, you want us to really zone in on the setting Senti Merries itself. It's like you want us to, build this world for you, but just using Freeze's descriptions.
Yeah, it is an unusual request, I have to say. But I'm kind of fascinated by it, too. Like, usually in memoirs like this, the setting is kind of an afterthought. But in this case, Senti Merries, it's like this character. Like, it's alive.
Okay, so let's put on our virtual reality headsets or whatever. Get ready to experience this place, yeah. Freeze, he just drops us right into Senti Merries. He describes these two different ways to get to school, and it's striking.
The thing that really hit me was how those two paths, they're almost like a symbol or something, about the choices you gotta make. Even in a place where your options are limited. You've got this longer path, the chatty one, past the houses and tuck shops. Not exactly like a paradise, but there's some sense of community.
Yeah, like the scenic route, except instead of mountains, you've got the sewage situation is definitely something else. Freeze does not hold back on those details, the sights and the smells.
Right. And it's easy to be grossed out by that. But think about it, for a lot of people around the world, that's everyday life. Not having basic infrastructure like that, it affects everything. Their health, their safety, just their whole well-being.
Makes you think about what we take for granted, huh? But anyway, Freeze, he doesn't stay on that too long. He moves on to the shorter path to school. A little more, shall we say, intense. Suddenly those sewage streams, they don't seem so bad.
That's where his writing gets really powerful. Like, you can practically see it. The fresh feces, the rituals with photographs, and that red string. There's this feeling of danger, but also mystery,
Yeah, it's like stepping into a whole other world, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little freaked out, but also super curious.
I think that's Freeze's talent, really. He doesn't just tell you about Senti Merries, he makes you feel like you're there. You experience it with all its, complications and contradictions.
Totally. Because even with the poverty and the, let's call it, interesting infrastructure choices, Freeze shows us this other side. There's vibrancy there. He talks about the tuck shops with those amazing smells, the markets, even Yahoo dancers.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. Even in tough situations, people find ways to have joy, to connect, to make things beautiful even.
He even mentions this whole entrepreneurial spirit. People selling cooked chicken feet, meat measured by your arm. There's this one line, everything in these places is for sale. The only question is how much you are willing to pay for those things.
Wow. That one sentence says so much. It shows how resourceful people are when they have to be, when there's no other option. But it also makes you think about what we value. What do we not even notice that might be like a precious commodity somewhere else? It's like a lesson in perspective, And it makes me think about Freeze himself. He talks about growing up in a more, diverse, structured place before Senti Merries. That must have been a huge shock for him.
Oh yeah, talk about culture shock, right?
Yeah.
It's like that thing, reference points, How we see things, like if something's good or bad, easy or hard, it all depends on what we've experienced before.
So Freeze, going from a place with more structure to Senti Merries, it's like landing on Mars, probably.
Exactly. And that change, that's key to understanding his story, I think. It's not just a new place, it's a whole new way of looking at the world. It makes you think, how much do our reference points shape what we see around us?
It's like you don't miss what you never had. But Freeze, he's got this whole other life he remembers. So he's dropped into Senti Merries trying to figure it out. But also, he wants out, obviously. And that's where things get interesting. He sees all this hustle, people making things happen, and it sparks something in him. It's like the resilience he sees, it rubs off, These people are making something from nothing. And Freeze starts to question his own ideas about what's possible.
Senti Merries, as tough as it is, it's like an incubator for his ambition.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Mm-hmm.
The limitations there, they force people to be creative, to hustle in ways someone like Freeze, from a more comfortable background, might never have to.
It's that whole make something from nothing attitude, right? And that leads us to what Freeze took away from it all, those 4 lessons.
And they might come from Senti Merries, but they apply to everyone,
The first one, it's a classic. Think big. But in Senti Merries, it takes on a whole other meaning.
Oh, for sure. Because it's so easy to just accept your limits,
Yeah.
But Freeze, he's telling us to break out of that. Dream bigger than your surroundings.
And not just about money or whatever, right? It's about seeing more possibilities, pushing yourself further.
Exactly. It's that belief in yourself, that you're capable of more. Doesn't matter where you're starting from.
Like, my present doesn't have to be my future.
Yeah.
right?
Boom, you got it. And that change in thinking, that's powerful. It's like you take control, you can see a different future, and then start making it happen.
And speaking of what's around you, that's Freeze's second lesson. Environment matters. But it's more than just the physical place.
Right. It's the people, too. Their attitudes, the whole vibe of a place, it affects us, How we grow, how we think, even what chances we get.
Like those two paths to school. One's more social, maybe you connect with people. The other's dangerous, you're on your own. We're always choosing our environment, even if our options are limited.
And those choices, they make a difference. Hang out with negativity, it's tough to stay positive. But surround yourself with people who lift you up, challenge you, believe in you. That changes everything.
So it's not just about escaping a place, it's escaping a mindset too. You choose the people and places that help you grow.
Exactly. We have more control than we think we do, even when things seem limited.
And that control, that ability to choose and to act, that's connected to Freeze's third lesson, right? Resourcefulness. And that's where Senti Merrie's really taught him something.
It's amazing what people do when they got to be resourceful, Those chicken feet, man, I still think about that. Seeing value where someone else just sees trash.
Looking at the world differently, finding a way.
Like that saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person. They're the ones who know how to make things happen right. That's resourcefulness.
And that works anywhere, right? Money problems, new job, even just trying to put together IKEA furniture.
Don't even get me started on that. But those moments when you got to improvise, they make you stronger, quicker on your feet. That helps in every part of life.
Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because sometimes the best solutions come from thinking differently.
Absolutely. And you know what? That leads right into Freeze's last lesson. Focus on what you can control. Because in a place like Senti Merrie's, where so much is out of your hands, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
But Freeze is saying, even in the chaos, there's still a part you can influence.
You got it. And that part, even if it's small, that's where your power is.
It's like, okay, things are messed up, but I can still decide how I deal with it.
Yeah, it's not pretending the bad stuff isn't there. It's more like you always have a choice, even if it's just how you react.
Instead of being like, this is just how it is, it's, this is where I am now, but I can change it.
Exactly. When you stop feeling stuck, when you see you have some control, that changes everything.
Like Freeze, standing there in Senti Merrie's. He's got problems, but also possibilities, right? And he's the one who decides what he does next.
And making that choice to focus on his own mindset, his actions, that was how he escaped. Not just Senti Merrie's, but that whole way of thinking.
So we've explored this world, Senti Merrie's, but it's more than just a place, right? What are we taking away from this deep dive?
It's a whole lesson on resilience, on perspective, on how much our beliefs shape what happens to us. Freeze shows us, even in the toughest places, you can still grow, be creative, find your own way.
He reminds us that where we come from matters, who we're around matters, but we can choose to be different.
He challenges us to think bigger, to use what we've got, to focus on the things we can change, especially when life gets rough.
Go into any situation not thinking, this is how it is, but how can I make this better? That takes guts and a little imagination.
And hey, who knows? Maybe if we really learn that lesson, we'll see that everything is for sale. It's kind of true everywhere. If you're willing to put in the work, be creative, never give up on yourself, that's the price,
So listener, wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with, remember what we learned in Senti Merrie's. Think big, be resourceful, find good people in good places, and never forget, you are more powerful than you think.